The hippie movement emerged in the late 1960s in the USA, primarily on the West Coast, especially in San Francisco. It was a response of youth to the military conflicts, racial and social inequalities, as well as the cruelty and absurdity of the time. Here are some interesting facts about hippies. Origin of the term: the word hippie comes from the English word hip, which literally means hip or shoulder, and was used to denote the cultural elite in the early 20th century. Young people striving for freedom and self-expression began using this word. Lifestyle hippies advocated for love, peace, and freedom. They rejected materialism, supported mutual aid and understanding. One of the symbols of the hippie movement was the idea of commune societies where people live together, share everything they have, and strive for harmony with nature. Clothing hippie fashion was bright and eccentric. They preferred natural fabrics, bright colors, ethnic patterns, and folklore motifs. Characteristic elements included printed t-shirts, flowing skirts and trousers, beads, feathers, leather bracelets, and necklaces, as well as floral patterns. Music played a huge role in the lives of hippies. They loved folk, rock and roll, blues, psychedelic rock, and ambient. Bands like the Beatles, The Doors, Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, Jimi Hendrix, and Janis Joplin were particularly popular among hippies. Cultural influence: the hippie movement had a huge influence on modern culture. They contributed to the emergence of the environmental movement, feminism, alternative medicine, and even technological innovations. Many aspects of hippie ideology and style remain relevant and inspire people to this day. For example, many young people continue to adhere to principles of ecological responsibility, tolerance, and an alternative lifestyle that characterized the hippie movement. Philosophy and ideology: the central ideas of hippies were love, peace, and freedom. They protested against war, violence, and social inequalities. Hippies attached great importance to spiritual practice, meditation, mysticism, and psychedelic experiences such as LSD use. Cultural events: the hippie movement became widely known thanks to cultural events such as the Summer of Love in 1967 in San Francisco. Thousands of young people gathered in Haight-Ashbury to express their commitment to peace and love. Protests and activism: hippies participated in mass protests, such as protests against the Vietnam War and for civil rights. They organized peaceful marches, rallies, and acts of civil disobedience. Legacy and influence: the hippie movement left a huge legacy in global culture. It inspired many musicians, artists, writers, and philosophers. Many hippie ideas, such as ecological consciousness, tolerance for differences, and respect for nature, remain relevant and important in the modern world. Myths and reality: while many perceive hippies as symbols of freedom and harmony, the subculture also had its dark sides, such as drugs, lack of hygiene, and exploitation of women. Nevertheless, hippies remain an important symbol of protest and self-expression.